Hi, everybody. My name is Jasmine, and welcome to the workshop.
Hi, everyone. Kasamba here, and we're so happy you could join us. We know that you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, so we really appreciate it. So today we're coming at you from our homes. We're safe, we're warm. We hope you guys all are too. We know that this is kind of a weird time to be at work and to be a woman and all of the rest of it. But what we wanted to do is create this kind of community where we talk about ourselves and where we're trying to see ourselves going.
For me, the workshop is a place where I speak with like-minded individuals like Cass to help to keep me motivated on my journey. I've come to a place where I have been in a career for a long space of time. I'm 39 years old. I'm knocking on 40, literally, like at the end of this year, I'm turning 40. And I just want my 40s to look different. I want it to be more truthful. I want it to be more purposeful. And I think above all else, to be happier. And that's what got me here. And that's why I raised my hand. I said, Cass, I actually need some help. I cannot get myself over the line to 40 in terms of the way I want to see it.
Yeah, I hear that. And I think the point of us kind of coming together is that we can't do it on our own. I think what was really powerful about Jasmine and I getting together was, as we started to ventilate the things we were feeling, we found that there were so many commonalities. So we're both pretty much exactly the same age. So I'm also knocking on 40 at the end of the year. And this idea, I think, in our minds that when we were younger, this 40-year-old self was going to be amazing. Like, she was a woman who was doing exactly what she wanted. She was commanding this kind of respect. She looked a certain way. She had a certain lot of much more money than we have right now. And we got to this 39 point and we're like, hang on. Are we on track? Are we off track? Because sometimes we also, if we sit on our own, we can spiral a little bit and we're like, this is all terrible, it's all terrible. Or I'm actually fine and I'm coasting and I'm happy. And what's really useful is to have people in your circle who can call you out one way or the other. So Jasmine's very good at saying, that's something you're stressing about, but you're actually doing amazing at it. So I think you need to let that go. And by the same token, I think here you could push a little bit more. So I think the workshop for me is really a community where we can come together to talk about things that we may be thinking in our heads and not really have a place. We don't want to say, I feel like I'm failing, or I feel like I could be doing better, or I really want to celebrate myself because I'm doing some amazing shit.
So coming to a place that is the workshop, it's two things. It is one, shopping for my next, because I've been on a journey to look at what am I good at? What do I like? What don't I like? And the beauty of getting older, I absolutely love this, is that I know what I want and what I don't want. So I'm much more clearer in terms of what I want out of life and what I want from my career, what I want with my family. But this here, I just want to use this as a space to focus on myself. I've got the family, we all do. And I know that there are so many other women that are pulled in every single direction, and finding that space to really workshop themselves and shop around for what really fuels them, what really gives them purpose and meaning, is just a beautiful, magical community that we can create and we can add to and join with other communities. So comment, join in. It's the best place where we can really try to be ourselves, really workshop ourselves to help us be the best that we can possibly be. Because I thought I was a little bit too old to start this work, to be quite honest. And she inspired me with the story. Do you want to tell us about that, Cass?
A lot of my life has been kind of working in and living through the world of fashion. And as we kind of unpack this journey, I think the meaning of that for me has changed over the years. But one of the big things I think that struck me, and it struck me kind of like, oh, that's cool at the time when I heard about it. But now that I'm that age, it kind of struck me in a much more kind of fundamental way. And that's the story of Miss Vera Wang. So many of you know Vera Wang's business in terms of her ability to turn out a beautiful dress, and everyone looks very elegant and very understated, but looking obviously pampered and rich, which is the goal of wearing a Vera Wang dress, because it doesn't have everything splashed on it, but you just look like someone who has got ridiculously good taste. And the woman herself has got ridiculously good taste. But what I think was really kind of striking for me, and when I told Jasmine, she was like, oh, and almost fell off her chair, was the fact that Vera Wang started her bridal wear business at the age of 40. So she had been working in fashion for many years. She had worked at Vogue for about 17 years. She worked for Ralph Lauren, but she decided in some way, and we haven't, necessarily unpacked it, she can come on the show. We would more than likely love to have you. But she decided at some point to be like, I've got a point of view, and I have got something that is valuable and that is shareable out in the world. And what I will do is I will actually go out and create Vera Wang Bridal. And as we know, from 40, when she started it, to now, that line has expanded, and that business has expanded into everything from eyewear to fragrance to, So really, I think when we discussed that story, we were sitting outside at my house and we were like, this is actually happening. And we're like, damn, girl, we are not, what is this too old situation? And then also following on to that, then Jasmine told me a story in her family. And I think, Jasmine, if you just share like your dad's journey, that will, just to kind of cement that idea that the work is important and we've got to do it no matter where we're at.
And I think that it is never too late, because we have so many examples of people that have done this. I've studied industrial psychology. I went straight into human resources, was a human resources manager, went on to become talent manager, organizational development, change manager, so all of the things in human resources. And throughout my career, I was always saying, and Cass was along me in that journey. We started our graduate program at the same company, just in different career paths. And throughout my career, I knew that this is not what I wanted to do. It just so happened that it was what I studied. So I naturally ended up in that route, and I earned a good salary. So every time I kept climbing the corporate ladder, it became more and more difficult to go back and try something different, because I had to make lifestyle changes. I'd have responsibilities as my family. So now I am 39 years old, and I have always had a creative side to me. I am an artistic person. I have done design work. I've done graphic design work, but just actually for fun and for my own pleasure and enjoyment, never gotten paid for it. And kind of picked up skills along the way, self-taught, like video editing, and just because it's stuff that I enjoy. So I do it on weekends, and it's just fun, making music videos. And I just decided it is now or never. I am getting older, but then I've got to make this change now. And that's what I'm doing. So this week, I have started a UX design course, and I'm on track. And I want to complete it by the end of this week. So next week, I will continue on it, and I'll report back to you, Cass, because this workshop is also a place to keep me honest. I need to keep moving forward. So thank you, Cass. Thanks to this community. Thanks to the workshop. I'm on my journey.
But, Jasmine and I are going to talk about it, because obviously we're both 39 and we're both kind of feeling this thing. We both, have got very kind of similar tram lines in some ways. But this is not to say that this is a space for, if you're 22 and you've got these questions, like we're not about to be like, come back in 15 years because you don't know nothing. That's not the point. I think we're just kind of, everyone talks from their own kind of space and their own kind of experience. So for me, for a long time, I was quite envious of people like Jasmine who had studied something, gotten a qualification, and went into a work stream and could progress in that way. And I'm like, look how easy that is. Like, you study it, you work in it, you grow. I'm coming from a different place. And it's funny because Jasmine and I kind of end up at the same place, but with very different paths. So I studied political science. I have not used it a day in my life. it was a good lot of reading. It was very, like, I think it just kind of, you know, enhanced my ability to be thinking critically and all of that kind of stuff. But I then started working in a store. So I worked in a boutique, and I'm the only person I know who loved it. Jasmine, but you also worked in a store and you also liked it.
I loved it.
Yeah. You know, like people who work retail, and if any of you have worked retail and you're getting these horror shrills down your spine, I'm telling you, I liked it. I was like, I'm happy to be on my feet the whole day. Customers are coming in. I'm dealing with clothes. You know, I was the kid who, my mom bought me one Barbie. She wasn't really like a with it kind of mom in terms of cool stuff. So I had one secondhand Barbie she bought at a garage sale. And because she is a seamstress, I had fabric around me all the time. So I used to make these clothes. And my mother would comment, she's like, you know, when you want your Barbie to look like a pirate, I don't know how you do it, but that's exactly how she looks. So in terms of my interest, I've always been interested, and not fashion as in the industry and the glamour, but I've always been interested in garments and your ability to kind of communicate things in that way. So I started working in the store, and then I got into, like Jasmine made reference to before, graduate program where I became a buyer. So I was an apparel buyer for many years. And then I took a break and I stayed at home for a year, which didn't suit me. If it suits you, then hey, all power to you, but it didn't suit me. I started lecturing at a fashion tertiary institution. So I was a lecturer for 4 years, and I taught kind of the business side of fashion. So retail maths, that kind of thing. And then I got into agency work, and I'm currently doing quite a lot of like branding, there's advertising work, there's strategy in there, there's eventing, there's concept, you know, kind of like whatever, like, can you do this? Yes, I can. It's like I'm Trinity from the Matrix. Like, can you fly a helicopter? I can now. So it's like, Summer, can you do a brand strategy? Google, yes, I can. And off you go. And so that has afforded me a lot of, so my journey has kind of given me a lot of scope to try different things. But I think where the envy comes in is nothing particularly sticks. So I've got a lot of experience, but I have kind of moved this way instead of that way, if that makes any sense. So I haven't kind of progressed that much forward because I've kept starting something new. So I'm at the point now where I'm like, I should be further along. I don't know what further along means. I don't know where it is, but I feel like I should be there. And I've tried so many things and I've started so many things new that I'm like, okay, but now what do I pick to kind of move me forward? And so that's, I think, where we kind of landed up. And that's why we're all kind of doing and participating in the workshop, so that no matter where you are or how you got there, if you're sitting and saying, how do I kind of live my life with more purpose? And how do I do things that are aligned with that purpose? And purpose doesn't mean that you want to go and feed orphans, guys. You know, that's not what it is. It's not something that's morally good or like I should be doing great work. It's just about something that when you, what lights your eyes up, you know, like what kind of gets you, what gives you that little like, oh, I'm so good at this. You know, this is so fun. What is that thing? Because yes, I mean, doing good work is important, and we can get there, but what empty cup are we pouring from if we're not able to kind of get ourselves motivated and excited and really kind of reward ourselves with our day-to-day work?
Again, what do you love? What does the world need? What can you be paid for? And what are you good at? So that's ikigai. So that's the purpose. Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times we get intimidated by things like that because you're like, I'm nowhere close to figuring that stuff out. That's why we are all here, because it took like for you to figure out that sweet spot is not like, oh yeah, I got it, right? Like I think you work a little bit on your vocation for a bit, then you work a little bit on your profession for a bit, then you develop your talents at a different stage. And the idea is to be kind of mindful about being able to pull all those things together. So doesn't just kind of happen. I think you got to make real kind of choices along those lines. I was talking to a friend about her friend who had started a business with alcoholic ice lollies. And while the product is really niche, and obviously, you know, it's like a summer thing, she was saying what was inspiring about his story was that he was so driven to make it a success that she said, how have you grown it so much in this time? And he said, every time I make a decision, I decide what is best for the business. So if I want to wake up at 10, but I should wake up at 5, I wake up at 5 because it's better for the business. If I say, should I have a long boozy lunch or I should work on my website? I mean, those are kind of obvious choices. But also things like, do I take a day off when I'm sick because I actually need to get better quicker to be back to have. So I think like from that, I took this idea of when we have, I don't think we realize how many decisions we actually make on a day-to-day basis. And like, how do we kind of be a little bit mindful, not of 100%, because listen, this is not a group about pressure to be perfect, okay? We're all about making our lives easier. We're not trying to add complexity because it's no. But when you're realizing you're making a decision, do we then say, okay, because I have this idea and this is how I want to live my life, how is my decision going to affect that? Maybe sometimes it's just actually choosing pleasure and choosing relaxation and rest. Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh no, I must wake up at 2 a.m. because I'm starting a business, but like, how do we kind of recognize when we're in that decision space? Because you can choose what you want. Oftentimes we choose what we have to choose, but you can choose what you want. So I think all of that kind of stuff, that's our cauldron that we're stirring in the workshop, about all those ideas kind of swirling around, and like we're looking at what elixir we're going to come out with at the end of the day. So this week I'm going to be talking about what I've been immersed in this last week. And because, looking from kind of like ideas and, because I'm also building a fashion business brick by brick, you do have to kind of have your antenna out there and talk about what is inspiring you. So this week I've been immersed in dystopia. That's where I've been at. I think that we're in such a dystopian phase of reality out there as it is. I mean, today, as I woke up, we've recorded 21,000 new infections of COVID-19 in the city that Jasmine and I live in Johannesburg. So it's really like, it's just, right? You just can't imagine it. But that's our lived reality at the moment. And so I think instead of, normally what I would do is kind of like, this is the reality, I'm going here, but actually I've kind of swum along with it, and I've been diving into, and don't at me, but I just found Love, Death and Robots on Netflix. I've been seeing it for a long time, and it's literally everything I've ever wanted to watch. It's little vignettes, science fiction, very much looking at this kind of, what is the reality if things were different? So what, like, just from quite a science fiction point of view. And I also just finished 4 seasons of The Handmaid's Tale, so you can imagine where my head is at. And I think what really, looking at this kind of dystopia, from a fictional point of view, what it allows me to do is to kind of see how certain decisions, how they pan out later. So if we allow this to happen, this is the consequence. And if we don't take care of certain things, and that is the consequence. And it can leave someone feeling quite helpless, because often these things are quite big. We can't do anything as individuals about how the environment is affected by our actions. But it does kind of give you a sense of doom and gloom, which at this time somehow feels okay. Like, it just feels less, it's like, okay, cool, yeah, the worst will happen and here we will be, or not, and either one is fine, So I think I've been kind of like mulling over that, and obviously a lot of the imagery and the styling is very kind of opposite to how I like to style and how I like to do things. So it's interesting to kind of see that. The fashion is always really bad, post-apocalyptically, like a lot of really trashy layers and just things. And funnily enough, Mad Max style. Okay. Why must we have mohawks, guys? We can still have nice curly hair in the apocalypse. I mean, come on, But in any, there was also one episode in Love, Death and Robots, and it's like far in the future, this guy's on a different planet, and guess what? Everyone has a mask on, and they take their mask off to talk. And I was like, well, there we go. Invest in good masks, guys. They ain't going nowhere. They're coming with us into the future. And then I think, jumping off from that kind of like dystopian fashion, then it made me start thinking about, Lee Edelcourt a few years ago, the trend forecaster. She predicted the death of fashion. So she's like, fashion's dead. There's no such thing as fashion anymore. And obviously, if you're working in the industry, you're like, girl, what? No, huh? But what she's saying is, and I think, we're starting to see it, and it kind of makes sense now. We all used to there was like a thing. I remember seeing this, it was a post on Twitter where this girl was like, can we just bring back low-rise jeans? Because, I'm looking at all that, and obviously she's quite young because, Jasmine, remember when we used to wear low-rise jeans?
Oh.
So she's looking at the old noughties, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, and Mariah when she cut off the band of her jeans, which we all did.
With the bandana also. The bandana top. Remember?
I never.
Oh,
yeah, I remember that.
Oh, no, my boobs are small enough. But how many bandanas did Mariah use at the time?
Mariah only ever needed one. She don't care about underboob. She's doing well for herself. So anyway, the point of the low-rise jeans thing was, she was like, can we bring it back? And the reply to the tweet was like, girl, you can wear whatever you want. You don't need somebody to make it a trend. Just wear it. If you want to wear Christina jeans, wear them. And I think that's the idea. And that's kind of what I've been mulling over, is this idea of finding new aspects of your personality and expressing them in fashion. So do you dress, and maybe this is a question, do you dress differently in the last couple of years than you did now? And yeah, okay, we know we all stay in our pajamas and this kind of thing. And, active leisure wear is queen at the moment because we're all sitting at home. But when you want to feel like yourself and you want to kind of put yourself out there, are you finding that you're making different kind of fashion choices? And what is the aspect of your personality? And maybe it's also like an age thing. What aspects of your personality are you wanting to emphasize now that, that's different then? Or do you still dress like you used to dress when you were 25? So I think that's, that's kind of what I'm mulling over. Right, guys, that's us. Our time is up. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. It's really such a privilege to kind of have this kind of space. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. If you think that we're off base on something, let us know. Obviously, guys, this is the safe space. We're not trying to, listen to no haters. But, let us know what you think and like what you'd like us to talk about. We'll be here same time next week, and there we're gonna be spending the week really kind of looking at our favorite women-run startup businesses, and we'll have some very cool products and services to talk about with you guys next week. So stay safe, I won't say warm, because what if you're in a place summer, you're lucky devil. Stay safe and stay happy, stay positive, and stay beautiful, guys, beautiful. Right? See you next week.
Bye.